The lights come up, the camera focuses. You are somewhere between, and the reality of your life is on show. We feel compelled to put on a show all the time, and on the stage of life, it is filled with some award winning performances that most will never get to see on stage. Not all of our stories are glamorous. I am Philip Clarke. Join me today as we unearth the many roles of real people who share their journey and the lessons learned on that journey. Welcome to Lights, Camera, Real Life.
So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend them out there, we are here again. This is episode 5. Episode 5, can you believe it? Episode 5 of season 2 of Lights, Camera, Real Life. Let me tell you something. Today I just feel good, feel good. Say, I have one of my closest spirits online with me today, and we're going to have a little chat. I'm going to allow her to share and just fill up the moment this morning. And at this point in time, I go welcome on stage to Lights, Camera, Real Life, Miss Makeda Solomon. Makeda, what's going on?
Hello, Philip. Everything is going on and nothing at the same time.
You know what I mean?
Mix and balance of, yes, ebbs and flows. Let us call it that. But I am good.
Yeah, man. I like when you say mix up ebbs and flows, because people, that's what life is about, Life don't run smooth all the time, No. So Makeda, we did have one introduction for you. See, can I go ahead and do it, my dear?
Feel free.
She is an award-winning actress, both on stage and in film. She was formerly a principal, yes, a lecturer, and a well-seasoned risk management and general insurance professional whose career has actually spanned both private and public sectors, having been in the UK and Jamaica. So yes, she international, yes. Her current life, however, focuses on supporting the mental, spiritual, physical, and professional upliftment of others. Now, that is how she may have described herself. And me want to know how me describe her. She is what I have come to know as a very versatile actor, an intuitive soul with a genuine touch when you experience her. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Makeda Solomon to Lights, Camera, Real Life. I hope me do justice, Makeda.
You always do me justice. Thanks. I hope I do you justice in return.
Oh, look here, no man. Look here, no man. I am just waiting for you to just give me all that there is. Life is about flow. I'm learning that. Life is about flow, and you don't try to control what you can't control. And I'm just so happy that you're here this morning with me. She is joining me from Jamaica. She is in Jamaica. She's not in the UK at the moment. And, although it could have been a different thing because she's an international star now, so she could be anywhere on the earth, okay? But she is Jamaica right now. Makeda.
Yes.
So I made reference to the fact that you have been both in the UK and in Jamaica. So tell us, you grew up in the UK, but you are a product of Jamaican parents. What was that like growing up in the UK, and where in the UK is this?
All right, yes. It's interesting that I'm speaking with you at this particular juncture in my life, let me call it that, because I'm in a very reflective mode as I think we all should be from time to time, find that time and space to reflect on who we are, life, and so on. But we'll approach that a little bit further in. But England, born, raised. I spent the first 30 years of my life in England. I'd only visited Jamaica a few times before making the move here. My first visit here was in 1989. So before that, all of my Jamaicanness was vicariously shared through my parents. Growing up in a household where patois, and interestingly, rural patois, mama's from Hanover and daddy's Manchester. So I had mixed up and blend up of two patois from two rural areas. So yes, so my roots are very much Jamaican. I am so proud of being Jamaican, of Jamaican offspring. It's been a beautiful journey for me. I mean, in the earlier stages of life, I suppose, if I go back that far, just coming out to the fact that my parents were experiencing England as first tranche of migrants from the Caribbean.
Also, they would have been a part of the Windrush generation.
Rush, absolutely, absolutely. I'm what they might classify as a Windrush baby. So my parents would have gone through all of the hardships and of making life in England, and so we, first generation Windrush babies, we were experiencing all of the issues, the traumas, secondhand from our parents. So when I'm hearing my uncles talking about, boy, you hear about the other day, some teddy boys run down a group of them, boys, and beat them up and so on, so on. So we were hearing those tensions whilst we as the youngsters were expected to go into the school system and assimilate and to learn and to be fruitful and all of that. This was a brand new dynamic, and it actually struck me, the other day in thinking about it, that we were, there's an evolution taking place in us, being of Jamaican parents, but being the firstborn in this foreign land, what was then termed the motherland, as we know. But to me, sometimes it was like a sort of a cruel stepmother, So England, for me, and I don't throw stone behind me at all. In any life experience that I've been through, it's valid because it really is. I'm a combination of all of that. Absolutely. What I've been through has shaped me and my thoughts and my processes in life. But in amongst all of that, I guess I cocoon myself into this world of creativity and literature and I suppose daydreaming and escaping into my imagination. I've always had a very fertile imagination. So my memories of my childhood were amazing, joyful, happy. Things happened, incidents occurred, but for the most part, I was a happy child, and to all extents and purposes, I'm a very happy adult. So I feel I've had a very blessed life. My mother, Pauline, and my father, Gladstone, God rest their beautiful souls, gave me such a solid foundation in terms of, upfulness, upful living, simple people, but with that integrity, that grace. My mother, they used to call her the Duchess, because when my mother sort of put herself together and her poise, how she had that it was like a royal nature. She's very calm, quite 4 foot something, mommy didn't reach 5 foot tall, little, but she was like the nucleus of our family, the cornerstone, the matriarch.
Right.
So I had that in a mother, and then I had the hardworking father who was out there working shifts and working hard to bring home the bread and butter for his family.
Did you get at the time from your parents that through through raising you, that they were passing on something, what it means to be Jamaican? Did you get anything like that? Would you say that you knew what it means to be Jamaican, and were they trying to make you be Jamaican or just make you be because you're now you're English born. Was there a
sort of a positive, proactive action on their part, you mean?
do you think there was, yes, to remind you that you have come from this heritage?
No, I think my parents, like a lot of Jamaicans that went there, were trying their best to assimilate themselves into British society and culture and not stand out too much. And trickling down to us was that sense of focus your mind, get your education. Education is key. That was what, that was sort of drilled into us so that we could better ourselves and move on up in society, to higher levels than they perhaps had at that time. So I think perhaps more to the converse, where it was a case of, fit in, blend in, don't cause too many ripples, because we don't want you to be the subject now of the target of that society that was obviously very critical of us, and had all sorts of stereotypes as to how we were and should behave and so on. So we were made to sort of feel like, Jamaicanness, it seeped into us. To me, it's genetically coded into
right.
us. The foods we ate, how we spoke in the household. There was no bones about it. It was a Jamaican household, so there was no overt attempt on their part.
So did they allow you to speak patois?
Yes. My parents were not those that said speak proper English.
Right.
But in saying that, we were able to command the Queen's English, as they call it. Mm-hmm. So to me, I say, yeah, man, I'm bilingual. Even before I study any other foreign languages.
Exactly.
And there are some things that you cannot express at home when the children are misbehaving, and daddy, he's not going to stand up and say, children, please, I behoove you to behave yourselves, because you're disturbing my watching of the cricket match right now on the telly. No, I'm move out of the way. I watch television. Stop it, guys. You said the news. I must listen news. So yeah, so the Jamaicanness, it kind of just, it washed us. It was washed over us. Yes.
Yeah, and you had siblings, one of which is no longer here.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
You had a pretty good close relationship with him. How did that impact you?
How did it impact me? Amazingly powerful in one regards. Although it was traumatic, probably one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, if not. Losing my brother, I was 18, just turned 18. He was 19, soon to go on to be 20. He got a virus, took him out within a day. So the whole family, he was the star boy of the family, my one brother. He was working in a bank, 19 years of age, black boy working in a bank. He was head boy of his high school. His trajectory was amazing. And I was sort of in his, not so much shadow, but looked up to him. He was my hero.
Right.
We played and romped together, I was like a little tomboy. So I was always out with the boy, him and his friends playing around. So when he died suddenly in front of my eyes, it was like, okay, you mean these kind of things go on in life? I mean, of course, I wasn't processing it like that at the time, but what it did as a result, it gave me that passion for life, Philip. To me, it was like, wait, you mean life can just done so at such a young age? So my brother is not here now to enjoy what was lining up to be a bright, shining future. So I can't waste a minute. I cannot waste my time. I've got to almost live for the both of us, was what I, sort of remember sensing. So that was it propelled me to make the best of myself, to take the opportunities I could, to have great relationships, to live loving with as many people as possible, because of this unknown time frame that we're dealing with. It's the unknown part of it. So we said, no, I can't waste life. I just loaf and so yeah, that was the impact.
And you were 18. You were 18 at the time.
You turned 18. Yes, indeed. 4 days after my 18th birthday.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend we are talking to the great Makeda Solomon. She's an actress. She's been a principal. She's now a therapist, and she is really going to talk a lot about how she really works to uplift the others, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically. And she just shared a very moving story about the impact of her brother, the only male sibling in her household, that died suddenly at 19 years of age. Makeda, you started getting involved in community style theater in the UK. What motivated that?
All right. Well, it's a nice little segue, not from my brother passing, but what you were saying earlier about how whether my parents sort of encouraged me to be proud of my Jamaican heritage and
Right.
so on. Because I sort of remember starting out as what we would call back then as a little, well, roast bread fruit, our bounty bar, I used to call them in England. People who were black on the outside, but on the inside, they acted pretty, like they were one of the nationals, So, yeah, for all intents and purposes, my mind was set on the fact that, yeah, this is the way I am, this is the way I behave, and,
Okay.
my conduct was pretty much that. A sense of my own blackness and identity, it was a case where I was the only black girl in my class at high school. So I'm in the classrooms, and every time something comes up about Africa or what they would call the dark continent, and you see the videos being played, I would be shrinking in my seat thinking, oh gosh, soon one of the boys is going to turn around and say, yeah, look, ha, 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 that's your family, Makeda, or whatever. So the association with Africanness was something that some, not all, youngsters growing up in England, sort of, you wanted to disassociate yourself because children want to fit in, they want to blend in, they want to sort of, not stand out for anything what would be perceived negative in the school, in the classroom. So what community theatre did, my being exposed to that is when I started to say, oh my goodness, look at my people. I come from a race of people. I didn't know all of this information about, ancient African civilizations that gave the world so much, and seeing women like me who were warrior queens. And so that was like something that just descended on me through my exploration of, sort of theatrical performance pieces that we would do. So it was community theatre. I started with a company called Open Door Theatre Company. It was a black theatre troupe, and that's where I really, as I say, my eyes started to open to think that, okay, I have nothing to be ashamed of. But for having my formative years where I did not see that, did not have any role models on the television to show me that women of my hue could aspire to be, whatever they chose to be in life, it kind of made me sort of feel like, there's limited potential unless I was behaving in a certain way that, sort of was in tandem with this society. So no, theatre opened my eyes. And the more I got to create and express and explore, the subject matters that were pertinent to me as a Black woman, and then embracing that identity as as an African woman with Jamaican-born parents who was born in the UK, it's like the dots got joined, and that sense of sort of racial identity, wholeness, came into being, and that really changed my whole outlook on the world, my outlook on life, and most importantly, how I felt about myself. Because back then, I considered myself ugly. As a little girl growing up, you're hearing smidgens of conversations in, the elders that would have come from Jamaica, terms like black and ugly, as if one goes hand in hand with the other. So me of a darker hue, you kind of draw back and think, well, oh, I'm not one of those girls who have the, certain looks and features that would be considered beautiful. So I guess me just turn everything in a comedy and turn up my personality and just, and just became the larger than life Makeda that is now, evolved into this.
So give me an example of what would be your coping mechanism at the time. How did you're coming into this newfound reality of who you are? How did you start to appropriate your actions now going forward?
Well, once I started in theater and was moving with Black people, Black brethren and sisters in that fraternity, we were being commissioned by the local authority in our hometown. Wolverhampton is the hometown, the place that I was born. And what we were being asked to do is to be a sort of a bridge between the government or the local government and their services to our communities and the community itself. So we were putting on productions and short plays or conducting creative workshops, sharing with them how racism was being experienced by us, and then presenting it to whether teachers or council employees or whatever groupings they would sort of bring for us to share and say, look here, this is how this thing that inequality and all of these actions that they may not be aware of, which they wouldn't have been aware of before because we just come, if you see what I mean. This new generation, it was new for them too. How do we deal with the totally different groupings of people that we can't necessarily relate to? Here are their children now in our schools. So that was a very instructive time for me as well, because I was being made aware that okay, there are some groupings within the system that are seeking to bring about change and to make it more comfortable for us to be to live comfortable and fair and equal lives, sort of thing. So yeah, but the platform of theatre, it really gave me that voice, that sense that, this is how powerful your voice can be and the things you have to say. You don't have to go up to somebody and say, yo, I need to be better towards me and treat me better, because we're tired of this. Obviously, there were sections of the society that were doing that. They were fighting back. But we had a means through theatre now to present it in a way that could be absorbed without it being sort of confrontational.
What would you say? And this might be, a lot to think about, but young Black people in the UK today, whether they're from Caribbean or otherwise heritage, what would you say to them, given the changes that have taken place now? We're no, Windrush has gone, but Windrush has its, its remnants. What would you say to young Black people in the UK today, based on your experience, based on your awareness and things that are happening now, current in the UK? We had a lot of protests during the pandemic period about Black Lives Matter, and it appears to be as if the more things change, the more they remain the same. It appears to be. But you have grown up in the system. You've gone through a very crucial time. You've learned a lot using your theater, and you've become into yourself. What would you say to young Black people in the UK today?
I think it's a general thing I say to most persons, Philip, when you try to boil it all down to sort of a common denominator, and the sort of fundamental thing is master your mind and you will master your life. If you can master your thoughts and how you think and how you perceive things, you're not going to be sort of on autopilot. You're going to be you'll have enough space to think things through more rationally. You'll have the space then to, rather than reacting, you respond, but respond in a measured way that is in your best interest and it doesn't bring harm to anyone else, because that's fundamentally it for me. I never have an intention to outly go out and harm someone else. It's been how I've been from a little girl all the way through. That's been consistent. But being able to kind of, and you said, as I think more things change and more they remain the same, that's one point I was going to make as well in terms of UK. I've been back and forth there over the years. I still have family there. And sometimes I can lament the fact that, my goodness, these things are still happening where they're having to have, the quotas of persons from certain groupings are not up to mark yet. You're still having sort of racist incidents in certain working environments. I'm saying, but what, 30 odd years later, nothing has really changed? Because that was one of the reasons, why I left the UK. At the bottom line, I thought to myself, there was a particular incident. There was a young Black man, Clinton McKerbin, I will never forget his name, in my hometown of Wolverhampton. That's when I felt things were getting really close to home. He was killed by the police. And my thought was, oh my goodness, had my brother been alive, that could have been my brother. All right. And in whatever the situation about the circumstances surrounding his, being in this situation with the police, neither here nor there, because we know that out of nothing sometimes comes something. So I thought to myself, why am I sort of staying in this environment where this hostility is permeating? I mean, even if you don't directly get it as an individual leveled at you, when you're out there, you're hearing the stories, people close to you, you're seeing what's going on. And it became to a point I was saying, something. And by now I visited Jamaica. So why don't I live in a country where I'm not a minority?
Yeah.
And so I can relax. And that's exactly what happened when I moved to Jamaica. There was they have a saying that, you guys have a chip on your shoulders. But in a sense, I felt like my shoulders relaxed moving to Jamaica. I could be me. There wasn't that sense of looking over my shoulder to see, and wondering if someone is observing me with a view to judging me based upon my race. And it relaxed it somewhat, being here. But yes, I'm trusting I've answered the question that you would ask.
Absolutely. I'm really happy you said, this is one of the reasons I moved to Jamaica. Being in Jamaica now, I feel like you just blossom and flourish, and you're thriving. What is the single most important impact Jamaica's had on you since moving here full time?
My spirit. What I always say, I feel as if my life, and if I sort of divide it into three, all right? The first 30 years in the UK, formative years, educated there, culture there. Because I say to people, I'm bicultural, and I make no apology about it. There are essences of my Englishness that, it serves me and it suits me, and I like.
That's right.
The things that I've been exposed to there. And then moving to Jamaica now for almost another 30 years. And I give him age now.
Gentle people, I don't know what you're trying to say, but look nothing like 30 years more than the last 30. So I don't know what you're talking about. Let's just cut that, okay? that wasn't said.
So it feels as if it's like a pendulum has swung. So the first 30 years, I felt like my racial identity became robust and intact. The name Makeda, I grew into it. It's a name of a Queen of Sheba. The name Solomon is linked to that. So those that know the story know the connection. So I became a tall, proud African woman. My mother used to say to me sometimes, you don't have any more clothes in your wardrobe other than it was like I was celebrating me so much, Philip. Wait a minute. I'm feeling the royalness. Now we know not every single person that left the shores of our motherland, Africa, was a king or queen. But by coining those phrases, to me, it's like it's redressing the imbalance. It's like if for so many years we felt that, boy, we didn't really, in England, we didn't feel confident in ourselves as young people because of our hue. Now I'm finding out and transforming myself into this proud Black woman. When I came to Jamaica now, mix up that with my true spiritual connectedness. I grew up in the church, going to Sunday school and church every Sunday with mommy and so on. Predominantly white church, a Methodist church in Wolverhampton. And I loved it. Loved Sunday school, loved church, and so on and so forth. There was nothing sort of there for me to not enjoy the processes of. But in terms of dropping into that level of spirituality, which to me, it's at a base, more foundation level, because it's you, the essence of who you are. Jamaica brought me that. I found that myself, my spiritual self, I calibrated with it. I connected with it in such a potent way on this little rock here. And when we talk about this little rock here and the power of it, I'll get emotional because it's real. It's living and breathing. I remember saying when I first got to Jamaica, Philip, there's going to be a spiritual revolution taking place. I don't know where I get this from, but
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying it to somebody. There's going to be a spiritual revolution taking place in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and Jamaica is going to be at the hub of it. You know,
Boy,
really cool.
Makeda, I don't know. I feel I'm there with you. I'm excited about it. I'm really am. But when I look at Jamaica and I see what's going on here, sometimes I don't know if I can believe you.
That is part of the issue. That's a part of the problem. Let me tell you. And if we can get to the point where instead of focusing on, because this is a world of duality. There is good, there is evil, there
Yeah.
is black, there is white. There's duality in what exists. Because seems to be a rising of what we're perceiving to be an increase in violence and people really not caring about each other and society is falling apart. To me, it's almost like a shaking up. It's a shaking up of humanity. And it's not just Jamaica alone. There's a shaking up of humanity taking place where people are and trust me, this whole pandemic and what happened during it, before it, during it, and after it,
Yes.
it all plays a part in the shifts and the changes that are happening now. Because what you have had for the first time in centuries and centuries is something that has affected the whole populace of the world. So everyone is suddenly paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where your attention goes, where you put your focus, that is what you're going to experience for the most part in terms of your mind. That's what I say to people. If you master your mind, you can master your life.
Yeah.
Because you have just said something, which it's not an incorrect statement. There are a lot of negative things happening in Jamaica. I am experiencing and seeing and witnessing an amazing shift in the minds and the spirit of Jamaican people, where I'm seeing a rising to balance out the negativities.
Mm-hmm.
Mother Nature, spirit of, the Almighty, all of those things, not sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We humans think we are greater and grander and we can topple Mother Nature, we can topple, we need to humble ourselves. But what I'm saying to you is that if we are focusing on all of those negative things and letting them really sink into our consciousness, stress us out, then that is the vibration that we're giving off out there. That is what we are constantly going to be repeating as a process in our mind. Because right now, as you and I sit here looking at one another, Philip, and this is an exercise I do in the workshops that I do. Right now, here, no. Is there anything wrong?
No.
Anything wrong with you?
No.
All right, neither me. Right in this precise moment, we're not aware that if we bring our consciousness to it now and say, wow, probably in some part of some community, someone may have just brought harm to someone else. We have now taken ourselves into that zone. Now, I'm not saying that we ignore all that's going on that's negative, but don't feed ourselves it on a constant basis and have it as our narrative. The more you speak good, the more you come from a place of love, a place from your heart, and you can focus on that and cut away from what a wicked set of people them out there. You know, hear what them do last night. You have persons out there now, some heinous act occurs, boom, it's on the phone, boom, they send it to you. Look, this disturbed my whole day. Here, I'm sharing it with you. What is the reasoning and logic in that? We're spreading what is happening and casting darker light on one another. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Whereas if we start to, from us, feel and think on that level where we're more positively focused. Yeah, man, look at that child on the road, work hard, graduate, and get from this and this. Start picking up and sharing the positive things. It's going to bring back a balance. I don't say that in my lifetime we're going to eradicate all violence and evil from Jamaica, the shores of Jamaica. What I'm saying is with a conscious effort, with the aid of the spirit that is invested in every single one of us, including those doing the wrong deeds. That is the other point I want to make. They also have the spirit of the divine within them, in my opinion. But what they're not doing is tapping into it, or it's like for them light getting overshadowed. What we need to do is try and help them find the button to turn on back for them light. See, what we tend to do is to judge and cast aspersions and say, evil, wicked, you're a write-off to society. So but that's another soul, that's another spirit of it,
Because you know, For those of us who believe in the Bible, you know, when they say that you're made in the image and likeness of God, if you are, then as you say, it's possible we're not tapping into what we really are. So when you don't, you are likely to do something that is uncharacteristic.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's so many clues are in the Bible for us. You know, I think we kind of sometimes we try to look at the whole thing and break it. No, it can be quite simplified. I think if we simplify things, I just finished. I'm doing a course currently on consciousness-based education. Because when I was principal of the school I was in Montego Bay here, we introduced what was called quiet time. Is a transcendental meditation was the foundation of it. In other words, if we get children, based upon scientific research that shows that the neurons of the brain, when they are in a coherent and calm state, they fuse better. So you can look it up. I send people on inquiry to look at this. Around the world, you have this simple principle being introduced into schools. 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes before the children go home. It changes their whole brain physiology. Their behavior calms right down. They're able to, their grades go up, the level of delinquency or, suspensions drop. And these things are, this for the last 50 years, this has been going on. Now, as I say, when I introduced it at the school, there was some kickback, and I was like,
I can imagine. I was about to ask you, if there was any opposition.
And maybe that was my naivety coming with what I consider to be good intent and what they call the science, the evidence that schools in the, the roughest parts of the States, in India, in Africa, all over the world where this has been introduced, the results are there. The children's grades show the change, their behaviors, their health, the whole community shifts. So to my mind, there are some simple formulas that can be utilized that can shift a nation. And we think, it won't take long because too much, but it can be done, as they say, the twinkling of an eye, is it? Whatever the saying is.
Yes.
Things can, because when you deal with spirit does not work in accordance with human
schedules,
constraints or schedules. In the of an instant, you can have a gunman out there who just do a wicked deed and invoke upon something connect with the spirit in him, and he transforms overnight. And that's the level of spirit that as you mentioned, Jamaica, I found what being here has done, because I'm close to nature. We want barefoot as much as we can. I barely put on shoes. When people say come out, when I have to go out somewhere, I have to remember to turn back and pick up my shoes. Grounding yourself. So what I share in the work that I do now, Philip, he said, look, I may not have all the answers, but the formulas that I have found work for me, keep my temple clean. I've not eaten meat perhaps for 30 plus years. That was a conscious choice. And I'm not sort of preaching at anyone as I relate this. Me used to love me meat. Yeah, man, grew up on it. My parents, full Monty. But when I made that decision, what I observed is that my state of health then it dissected from the rest of my families. And what it was clear evidence is that, my mother and my father both had renal failure, were on dialysis, and my younger sister too also succumbed to that, has had to have a kidney transplant. So what I'm saying is there is a correlation, obviously, with what you put into your mouth that determine how strong this temple is.
Absolutely.
I want to go on for some years, Almighty willing, to do some serious stuff and enjoy some life. So I want to take care of this. And what I find last year, Philip, for my 57th birthday, I said, you know something? So me get it. Well, no, they don't have to do the maths again. I said, I'm going to defy this 57-year-old body that when I was a youngster, I could not do the splits. All right, so I practice yoga. I have a beautiful yoga and fitness coach that drives me and keeps me on track. I said, I'm going to, at 57, do the splits. Some people put me and said, man, you broke your bone, then, your mind so and so, man, you go down and can't come back up. with the focus on saying, yes, remember, say belief kill and belief cure, I believe that my body at this age, even though I couldn't do it when I was a youngster, will be able to complete that feat. And so said, so done, Philip.
Wow.
And when I accomplished it, it wasn't so I can say, let me show up because my body flexible.
Yeah, yeah.
It's to say, look, mind over matter. Master your mind. Your body will go into accordance with what your mind is telling you. So you wake up every day and say, Lord, me not pain. Pain at evening, pain at night. Every day the pain. You're talking it into being.
Absolutely.
Or you're at least reinforcing the pain. So what you give attention to expands and grows. So tell your body, say, we want a young, fit, healthy body. And then you go about the things, the practical things that will bring that about. So with diet, what you eat, but also what you take in mentally. Is key. Nourish your body well. Nourish your mind. Please, please, please be said to people all the while, plug yourself out as often as you can from the societal mainframe. Plug yourself out, and as my auntie said, make me ears name grass. Never really understood that Jamaican saying.
Yes.
And but anyway, I understand it to mean give me a break.
Yeah.
Just give me a break. The bombardment.
Let me breeze out. Yeah, man.
Yes. I went to the lens of studying neuroscience in the form of neuronet therapy for children, because to my mind, every child, and the children are my focus, they're my passion, children and teenagers, because to my mind, they are not yet so entrenched or fixed in terms of their behavioral patterns and their neural networks that are wired. Everything you do, it triggers something in your brain, and if your brain lock it in, it becomes a habit. And if a habit go on for years, say you can't have this bend a tree when it goes.
Absolutely.
That principle, I'm saying that nourish the things that go into your brain.
Absolutely.
So many things. And
ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. I mean, an overflow. Where's that? This is an overflow. I'm here for it. Listen to me now, man. We are talking to Makeda Solomon, and she has been on this fabulous journey of discovering herself, but not just discovering, but sharing with us how we too can come into an understanding and into a life that we determine based on how we master our minds. Let me tell you something, Makeda, I am truly, truly grateful. Makeda, you have occupied so many different roles in your life as a school principal, an insurance professional, executive, an actress. You have been a therapist, and you're certainly a motivator and a mentor. And you have played so many different roles on stage. And I'm listening to you talk, and I'm like, no, it's as if you've arrived at a particular place in your life. Do you think that any of those roles that you played, whether on stage or off stage in your real life? And by the way, guys, I also did a play with her. Okay, she played my wife. Hey, okay, and she's hey. Let me tell you something. When you play with Makeda, you better step up your hair, child. You better step up your game. How did, and has, I should say, any of those role plays influenced where you are now?
Interesting question. And I probably have a sort of flurry of plays that I've been in keep popping up in my mind as I'm pondering the answer to this. But what I tend to do, Philip, and I know you do the same, you are an actor that immerses yourself deeply into a role. Trust me, goosebump proportions.
Thank you.
when you, I'm an empath.
Yes.
As I understand it, whoever coined that phrase and the description of it tends to fit me in terms of I tend to have the ability to be able to step into people's shoes, to be able to see things from their perspective. And I feel very deeply, very sensitive. So when I find a character in any play that I'm going to be in, and I'm reading the storyline and what's happened to them, I'm feeling it. Even from the first reading, words trigger me. I'm passionate passionate about words as well. So the magic and the power of how the words have been woven together by the playwright, that impacts me. So from the beginning, each character that I'm going to be playing, I'm working it into my physiology, into my neurology. It's coming, I'm absorbing it. So by the time I'm playing that character repeatedly, there is a semblance of that character that resides with me, that stays with me. So even if we've not had the experience as actors, I think we need to appreciate this too. Even if we may not have had the experiences of the persons that we are representing on stage, an aspect of them, even in thought, it stays with you. I suppose it depends on how absorbent you are as an individual. Some persons play more surface and they act it out, and then they shed it, the character, and so on. But I've played a go-go dancer. I've played an 80-year-old, an octogenarian. I've played a Rastafarian woman. There are a myriad of characters that I've played. And each of them I feel an attachment to. So there's times when I'll say things as Makeda out there, and the character's turn of phrase might still, sort of come out, years and years thereafter. So yes, there is no one role as such. I mean, I suppose a role that impacted me most in terms of the effect on my emotional being, it was Lena, Who Will Sing for Lena, the one-woman show, because
absolutely,
once it's a true story, Philip, it turn it up even more in my vibes. Because it's like when I watch a movie, if I watch a movie and I don't maybe catch the beginning of it, and at the end they say this is based on a true story, it changes the whole way I relate to the story. So
ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about Lena, because I mean, I'm glad she mentioned that. Lena actually is a true story, of the only woman to be executed in Georgia, right, for killing a white man who actually persistently abused and raped her. And Makeda had the privilege, the awesome privilege, of recalling and recounting and presenting that story by herself on stage every night. It's an experience, guys. It's an experience that you all should have. And let me just tell you one thing about it. I could feel, there's only one body on stage, hers alone, but I could feel and I could see all the other characters that she spoke to on the stage with her. Makeda, go ahead. Tell us about that.
Yes, phenomenal, because obviously at the end she's executed. So the writer, Janice Liddell, beautifully put this script together. She's an Atlanta-based writer. And having seen the transcripts of the court case, so she pieced it together from that. Then when I read the script, I was like, this is in 2005. I said, this is heavyweight stuff. I said, who can direct this? And what I did, I said, Faye Ellington. Faye Ellington came into my consciousness, into my spirit, and said, that woman, it was her directorial debut, I understand, yes.
Oh.
And Faye mixed it and blended it. She added a Jamaican character to it to give it a narrator, to give it a flavor. So I was playing a narrator, playing Lena as a little girl, as a middle-aged woman, as a whatever, up to the point of execution, sitting in that electric chair. And you act that out, but the thought of doing it repetitively, believe me, I don't know, maybe up to now, I should have go get a little bit of therapy, because
I know. I understand, because I was sitting there and I am like, I feel like I'm experiencing this for real.
Yeah.
So I can imagine what you have to go through every night.
But that's the magic of theater, being able to convey to other people to the point where there's silence in the space at the end of the play. Most audiences, there was a pause before any applause, because you grab them. And that is the power of theater to transform. I mean, I'm talking about transcendental meditation. I'm talking about yoga. I'm talking about other practices, other means. I do drama therapy, psychodrama, all these tools. Because theater too is a powerful way to change societies, to change minds, change lives. Because you're planting indirectly, you're planting seeds through the story in people's minds as to, okay, and they relate themselves to it. So we mustn't underestimate the power of not only spoken word, but performing for people to make a shift in their consciousness.
Your passion for children and children's education comes out in almost in everything that you say. What
Yes.
motivates you to focus in that area? Because even though you're no longer in the classroom setting, so to speak,
Not directly.
not
In
directly,
the social.
right? There is some passion that you have. I know you have a beautiful child who is now a beautiful man, but you have a passion that transcends all young people. And I noticed the way how you deal with young people. What motivates that, and what would you want your legacy to be in that area?
All right. My passion for the education, my passion for children has always been there. I worked with children's groups and youth groups in England before I came to Jamaica. But when I came here and had my son and saw the little challenges that he was having settling into classroom, and I was thinking, oh, what is this? He's energetic and first day at school, teacher, boy, he's energetic. I'm thinking, but aren't all children at 2.5, 3 energetic? No, but so it sent me on inquiry to find out why my child was like moving in class and wanting to, miss, I need the bathroom, oh, miss, I need to, whatever it is. His energy level was heightened. So I researched it. I said, oh, what is this? Kinesthetic learner. Oh, you have different learning styles. And that all sent me on a whole trajectory. I went and did neuronet therapy, as I said earlier, in Florida, so that I could use that tool, and I applied it on my son first of all, in terms of exercises, movement that help the neurons in the brain to fire more synchronistically, and left brain, right brain synchronicity to be enhanced. So the passions, and I literally followed him through his school progression, changed schools. He went to a Montessori school, he went into public school, then he went into private school. I didn't hold any bars in shifting him around to try and find the right fit for him. And that is the issue. We squeeze our children, who are sometimes square pegs, into these round hole institutions that have been rigidly round holes for centuries and centuries, not changing. That's the other revolution that is going to happen, is happening. And I'm very, very excited about it. An education revolution. Any society that does not build its future on the children and how they're educated, and educating them holistically, we're bound to continue to repeat and to fall into the same hole.
Completely endorse that statement.
Yeah, man, you have to educate the whole child, and you get them at a point where you connect them into the framework of teaching. When I go into classrooms, because as I said, indirectly, I'm still doing that. Whenever I go to England, I'm part of a company that I go out into the schools and do motivational talks. I do learning performance presentations. There are techniques that children can use to help to enhance their brain power. I think if I had life all over again, I might go and become a neuroscientist, or maybe I was one in a past life, because how the brain works fascinates me. Behaviors are changed at the brain and mind level. You can't put handcuffs on someone, incarcerate them, or put them on detention or suspension and expect their behaviors to change. It's a neurological thing that's brought in by all the physical factors in terms of what they're eating, their diet. You have to check a child's diet. Are they getting the nourishment so their brain can function? Why are they so antsy or irritable or angry? There are always underlying things. So my passion is that we educate a whole tranche of teachers. We start in the teachers' college. We bring back teachers who are passionate about the children too, and aren't just doing it just to raise a 2 shilling. I know it's a reality, everybody wants to eat their food, but going into education, the realms of education, and don't love children, and don't see the good in every child, because one statement from a teacher, as we know, take Malcolm X's story. When he said, Miss, I want to be a lawyer, the teacher told him, no, Malcolm, you can't be a teacher. You're a Negro, so you have to be think of something that's in you. teachers can make or break students, because at that young age, they're not resilient enough. And if they were to sort of come back at the teacher and say, no, miss, to any statement, negative statements that's made, they'll be seen as being rude or insubordinate. So I have a vision, and let me start with Jamaica. You don't need every single child in Jamaica to be, we want every child to be, but in terms of the numbers, a shift in behavior can happen with a small percentage of the population. It don't take everybody if it turn up, wake up tomorrow morning with a good, clean heart and want to do good in society and so on. You need a large enough number of people who are right thinking, hearts in the right place, because mind and heart have to play an equal role. If it's all intellectual, children, you go into a classroom, they sense you. They come in like dogs.
Absolutely.
They sniff you out if you don't really for them, if you don't care for them, if you don't like
Oh, yes.
them.
Oh,
Them
yes.
see, because we're vibration, we're energy. So the children pick it up. So when I go into a classroom and we're done with the pick them, and then at the end, miss, can you come and work at our school? Oh, miss, because they feel the love.
Yes.
You have to love picnic being the education fraternity.
Yes.
It's to me, it's a precursor.
Absolutely. Ladies and
Excellent.
gentlemen, we are talking to Makeda Solomon, the Queen Makeda Solomon. She has been sharing her journey, and she's been sharing some wonderful gems that she has picked up along the way. She's sharing her passion, she's sharing her vision, you know, she's sharing her dream, and she has really imparted a lot of herself today to us. And I don't want this to end, but we only have a certain amount of time. But I'd like to finally ask you one question, Makeda. I too, like yourself, I'm very passionate about the youth and very concerned about the trajectory, because I think we are here so that when we leave, we make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
If one young person was listening to you right now, what is that one thing you would tell them?
I'm going to try to narrow it down to one sentence, but I would say, you are here on this planet Earth. You are the only you with your fingerprint. There's no other you on this planet. You are here to deliver to this world what you came here to deliver. You have a purpose. Every single one of you has a purpose. All right. And every single human being is valuable. So don't squeeze yourself up in a little corner and think, oh, because I'm not Mr. So-and-so's son from so-and-so, I'm from here or there or whatever, that you're not as an important, the world will not be the same without you. That statement is categoric. The world will not be the same if you are no longer in it. It changes by virtue of the fact that your physical self, which is just the uniform that carries it's like a uniform we wear, the body and our, with a name tag on it. And then the spirit that is in us, once your spirit leaves, once your physical self leaves, then that spirit does not have you as a vehicle now. Imagine yourself like a Chris car. Chris up yourself, change your oil, take care of all of the things about yourself. Make sure that your engine is checked. Take care of yourself so that when the time comes for you to leave this planet Earth, you leave it feeling like, yes, I have delivered 100% of who I am and what I came here to do. Don't pull back. Don't hide yourself in any corner. And that's for adults as well as youngsters. You are important, you are valuable, and don't let anyone, anything, any society, any government, any outward expression of humanity convince you otherwise. Tap into yourself. Your power is within you. Your spirit is invincible. It's eternal. Take it for a ride, man. Ride that spirit and take it around in fine style and enjoy your life as much as you possibly can, given the circumstances that you're in. And if your circumstances are not ideal, turn your brain away from focusing on the non-idealness to what you would like it to look like. There is a power in thoughts. Thoughts emit. They measured it. They can measure your thought waves, just like microwaves and Wi-Fi waves. So that power of your mind to create matter is a real deal. The physicists and those folk are just chronicling it. No, they're just coming into to fully understand how powerful the mind is. Master your mind and you'll master your life.
Master your mind and you will master your life. Makeda Solomon hits it where it matters. She's always been somebody who delivers well on or off the stage. And here she is on lights, camera, real life, dishing out the real deal. And Makeda, I want to thank you for your generosity. I want to thank you for your imprint that you have, placed on me and all the people that you've come in contact with. And I'm sure that when everybody and all the persons who are listening to this podcast, they are going to be all the better for it. My girl, thank you for coming. Thank you for being.
My pleasure, Philip. My pleasure. It's always a joy to we can't wait to see you in real life now, so we can hug you and squeeze
yes.
your
Yes. I don't know one too. Yes. Yes. You must come to Kingston.
All right, sir.
Okay. But may I come up?
Yes,
You're in Montego Bay.
Yes, just on the outskirts.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
All right, no problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my friend, that's our show. This was epic, as we say, and if you want to listen to this podcast, remember it is available on all the podcast platforms that you listen to and on YouTube at Philip A. Clarke. So please tune in and listen to the podcast, watch the show on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share, and look out for episode 6. I guarantee you it's going to be another show that fills you up. It's lights, camera, real life.